Hey viewers, welcome back to Ray of All Trades. I'm picking you guys up already after working on this thing a little bit. It was supposed to be just a tune-up, and I didn't want to bore you guys with just a tune-up. So I went to check this thing out and noticed it would rev up and the RPMs would go really high, and it sounded really good. I put it under load, engaged the blades, and all of a sudden it just struggled. It struggled hard. The blades would still spin, it could still cut, it still, could do everything it needed to do, but you could just hear it. It was just struggling. Quickly I pulled out the plugs, and I noticed that the plugs mostly looked about the same. They were both just carboned up, just a normal used up, running rich type of situation. So I decided to do a compression test on this thing, and I'll start on this other side. Let's make sure you guys are in focus. Show you what I'm dealing with here. We got the throttle sitting wide open. Let's just crank it. Alright, you saw it cranks really well. It built 145 pounds of compression. Didn't build pressure as fast as I've seen some other ones, but it still built pressure. Alright, let's crank this side. Alright, so obviously I have a problem on that cylinder there. Not building compression. Could be valves, could be blown head gasket. Both of them are notorious on this motor. The easiest one to check first would be the valves. When you have to pry it off like this, that means I'm most likely going to have to straighten it before I get it back on there. Let's catch the oil. Still spilled. And here's our money shot. That nut, the adjuster, and then of course your push rod is stuck. That thing is just stuck in there. You know what's wild? It built compression and it was all coming through the exhaust side because the intake side couldn't work, right? It's nothing to actually make that thing work. So that's the exhaust side, and that's the only thing that was moving, and it still built 60 pounds of pressure. That's pretty wild. Just pulling in ambient pressure. So I need to know where those pieces are. Let me grab a magnet. So I found the pieces. All right. So there's one. There we go. Oh, no. Still didn't get it. Okay. So that's one good sign. They're not in the bottom of the sump. And the push rod is bent. Let's see if I can get that out of there. Push rod is not on the lifter anymore. It's beside the lifter, wedged up in the up in there and it's bent. It's pretty wild. I've seen some strange stuff occur, but never like this. There we go. And there's my push rod. Tell you what, it's bent, but just barely. I'm gonna set this thing on the table real quick. The valve moves like it's supposed to. I wonder if that lock nut just came loose and just came apart. Let's find something straight to put this push rod on. All right, y'all bear with me. I wasn't planning on doing a video on this thing. So let me get an actual straight edge. This isn't bent that bad. I have a feeling I could just plop it back in and it'll work. Do it so you and I can both see together. Man, that sucker is straight. It was bent when it was sitting inside there, or maybe it was just an optical illusion, but it looked like it was bent when it was wedged in there. Let's get this thing put back together and adjust these valves. See how she runs then. Let's turn the motor until the exhaust valve is closed. All right, we agree that exhaust valve is closed. That means that the intake valve, well, I'm sorry, the exhaust valve is open, which would mean that the intake valve is closed. Drop that back in the pocket and to the lifter. Put our adjuster back in. Okay, so that's too tight right now, but let me finish getting it assembled. There you go, it looks about the same as the other. Without looking, I'm pretty sure this one's a 5 thousandths. I think it's a 4 to 6 on this one. It's good. Well, that was right. Just about right on the money. Tell you what, we're just going to immediately do a compression test on this thing and see if that helped. Move some of my tools out the way because this thing might shoot a little bit of oil out. And you gotta see the gauge. Yep. All right, let's see what happens. Yeah, let me put that cover back on. I need to seal it, but I just don't want to. I just finished washing this driveway yesterday. Sometimes it doesn't spray as much oil. But this is a pressurized system, meaning it has an oil pump and an oil filter. It's the easiest way to tell. So I should have known better. Well, 150 pounds. All right, so it was a valve adjustment. Well, somewhat. Yeah, oil looks kind of rough. Tell you what, we're just going to clean this thing up. There's normally a gasket for these, by the way. I don't have one of those. Actually, let me look and see if I do, but I don't believe I have one of those. We're just going to seal it up. I just want to see if the problem comes right back, or if that was it. You know, the motor just vibrated enough, or this came loose, or whatever it was. And something was occurring because you can see the dent up here in the top of the valve cover from the inside. So that was actually hitting. So I don't know if maybe the valve got stuck at one point and it had a chance to get loose, and then it vibrated loose. I don't know, but right now it's behaving like it should. Lack of maintenance and oil changes on these things will make these valves stick. It takes a lot, but that'll make it stick. And it could have been that. But when we get some sealer, we'll get this thing back together. Another telltale, it was smoking pretty bad out of the exhaust when it would fire up. So I knew it had unburned fuel. My only issue with that is if the intake valve wasn't opening, how in the world did the unburned fuel end up inside there? So we may be dealing with something else as well. Or did somebody else already work on it and possibly spray a bunch of stuff in it trying to fix it? You know, I don't know. I mean, the air filter is dirty, the oil's dirty, gasoline looks old. Obviously they had a problem with this thing and it's been that way for a little bit. There's some sort of a wire holding on to the governor linkage. It's not factory. I'll tell you what, let's just pull that stuff off of here for now. Let it dangle. Let's see what we get. Just put it fast idle. Y'all heard that? We're gonna have a problem on this other side too. It was backfiring, popping. I mean, unless that repair that I just did was no good. I wouldn't expect it to be too far off. Because I mean, it ran on this cylinder alone. But something's off. We might be pulling in the heads. Definitely better, running better than it was. And whatever this sealer was good stuff. And I mean, I could have some bad gas in there too, and I just haven't got to that part yet, but it sounds to me like we got a problem. That one's actually not bad. Oh, that one's not bad either. Okay, all right, so it's not a valve adjustment. I think we might be, I mean, unless we're dealing with weak coils, bad spark plugs, something like that, it sounds to me like we are having a leak down issue. So let's go ahead and do a leak down test on this thing. I'm gonna let it cool down a little bit before I start pulling, you know, the spark plugs out of the heads and stripping something. So let's let it cool down a little bit, and I'll get the leak down set up, and we will come back at it, see what we get. We need top dead center on our compression stroke. So as we're spinning this, see the two valves are almost together. I know that that's the complete opposite of what we want. So let's get it to the bottom. Let's keep spinning in that direction until we reach top dead center. The top of the exhaust stroke. Okay, here goes the intake stroke. Alright, and as it comes up, right about there. That's the top dead center of my compression stroke. Let's hook up the leak down tester. I'm suspecting that this side might be okay. So let's get our baseline from this one. Well, let's hook up our air and see what we get. Well, for just a second there, I thought I heard something coming out of the intake, but right now, I don't hear it coming out of anywhere. So, but the gauge is also reading less than, what is that, 12%, something like that. Okay, so if this one is at top dead center right now, we know that 180 degrees out will be the other one for top dead center. This one is on the exhaust stroke. Let me get this out of here. Alright, let's keep turning it. Okay, now we're coming up. Right about there, it starts to go back down. So let's turn it back. Feels about top dead center. If I'm wrong, what'll happen is when I inject air, it'll turn the motor. Alright, didn't turn the motor. Let me turn it just a little bit. I can hear air out of that valve cover. I'm still in the low cylinder leakage category. And then watch what happens when I turn the motor. If I can turn the motor. Tell you what, let me take the air pressure off real quick. Turn the motor. Now if I had a leak, see what happens? I'm at 100% leakage right now, and I can feel air coming out of the muffler. This side appears to be good. Bring this up to top dead center. Right about there. So I'm looking at a cylinder leak. Got 20% leakage out of the intake. And I've got the valve so loose that there's no way that it's actually touching anything. I mean, it still passes at 90 pounds. It ain't running that well. So anyway, I'm going to adjust these valves again, and I think we're just going to drain some of the gas out of it, see if it starts running, because I noticed that somebody had rigged something up here with the governor and stuff. So I'm going behind somebody else trying to figure out what the heck's going on. Give me a second to normal all this up, put the plugs back in, and seal up the cover, adjust the valves, put all that back together, and I'll be with you guys. Doesn't look too bad. I do know that the intake valve on this side is not sealing up quite right, and so to repair that I'm going to end up pulling the head if it doesn't repair itself just from some carbon and dirt. Well, I guess I can fire it up, let it run for a little bit, test it out. Hope you all got something out of the video. Really appreciate you hanging out. I'll catch you on the next one.